Venice, a floating dream, built on fear, forged by survival, and sustained by sheer defiance. To the world, it's a gondolas and glittering masks, but behind the romance lies a story soaked in salt water and sacrifice. No roads, no cars, just canals and courage. This isn't a city, it is a miracle, a rebellion against nature, a sanctuary born from desperation, and now a battleground against time itself. Do you think you know Venice? Think again, because beneath every ripple, every echo of a gondola's song is a tale of empires fallen, waters rising, and a people who refuse to sink. Why here? Why build a city in the middle of a lagoon? The answer begins with fear and ends with survival. Welcome to Venice, the city that shouldn't exist, but somehow still does. It all began in the shadows of a dying empire. The 5th century, Rome, once the master of the known world, was crumbling, and in its collapse, chaos was unleashed. Northern Italy burned, cities like Padua, Altinum reduced to ashes. The invaders like Lombards, the Goths, and even Attila the Hun came like storms, leaving nothing but silence in their wake. People left these areas. These were not migrations, they were escapes, frantic, desperate, a fight not for land but for life. They fled east not to safety but to the unknown, to a place no army would follow, a place so desolate, so unwelcoming, it was almost invisible. The lagoon, a marshy, shifting maze of mud and water. To the invaders, it was worthless. To the refugees, it was salvation. They were not settlers, they were survivors, visionaries. Where others saw a watery grave, they saw a fortress. They started settling in areas now known as Torcello, Burano, and Rialto. No roads, no stone, just mud, salt, and sheer will. They built not on land but on faith. And from this fragile beginning, something impossible began to rise. By the 7th century, a leader emerged. By Luce Anafesto, the first Doge, a republic was born, not of kings or conquerors, but of merchants, sailors, and dreamers. Venice became more than a refuge. It became a power, a bridge between East and West, a city that defied nature, defied history, and refused to sink. This is not just a story of a city. It is a story of survival, of defiance, of a people who built the impossible because they had no other choice. This is the birth of Venice, the city that shouldn't exist. Venice was not built on solid ground because there was none. How did you build a city on water? It sounds like madness. But madness was survival. These early Venetians were not architects. They were fugitives, yet somehow they became unwitting engineering geniuses. Thousands upon thousands of wooden piles, alder and oak, harvested from distant forests, were driven deep into the clay and sand of the lagoon floor, not just into mud, but beneath the oxygen line where time itself forgot to rot. There, the wood did not decay, it petrified, turned to stone by the mineral-rich embrace of the lagoon. This was their bedrock, a forest turned upside down. On this hidden skeleton, they laid platforms of limestone, impermeable, resilient, and local. Then came the buildings, churches, palaces, homes, all floating on timber, all defying gravity. For Santa Maria della Salute alone, it is said over 1 million wooden piles were used, a forest beneath the waves, holding up a miracle. But this wasn't easy. Every stone, every brick, every timber had to be transported, placed with precision. Collapse was a constant threat. Water, their protector, was also their greatest enemy. So they fought back with ingenuity, with obsession. They designed drainage systems that rival modern blueprints. They mastered the tides, turning canals into roads and fortresses. And slowly this fragile outpost became a republic, a maritime empire, a beacon of wealth, art, and innovation. The Doge, elected, powerful, ruled a city unlike any other. Venice became a bridge between the worlds, east and west, faith and commerce, water and stone. Religion anchored the soul of the city. Saint Mark, its patron saint, became a symbol of pride, defiance, and destiny. His basilica, a dazzling testament to what faith and fear can build. This is Venice, not just a city, but a triumph over the impossible. The battle for Venice never ended. It did not die with the Middle Ages. It is a war fought every single day, quietly, relentlessly beneath the surface. When the base of a building begins to rot, they move in like surgeons. Salt-eaten bricks are cut out one by one, as if removing tumors from the body of a dying patient. Each replacement a small victory, a temporary truce with nature. But the lagoon is changing, water currents shift, pollution creeps in, motorboats churn the canals, exposing ancient foundations to air and marine organisms. Divers descend into the depths, searching for weakness. They inspect the hidden skeleton of Venice, a forest of wooden stakes driven centuries ago into the mud. The canals are not just streets, they are arteries, and they require constant, delicate surgery. Every scoop of mud is a gamble. Clear too much, and you risk collapse. Clear too little, and the city chokes. To understand Venice's fragility, we must go back to a single moment. On July 14, 1902, the Campanile of St. Mark's, the city's proud sentinel, imploded without warning, a pyramid of rubble where a tower once stood. That evening, the city council made a vow, Comera Dovera, as it was where it was, they would rebuild it exactly. Today, they watch the data like hawks, looking for the signs, the warnings missed. But the most terrifying threat to Venice isn't sudden, it's silent, it's slow. Venice is sinking, not a myth, a terrifying reality. The land subsides 1 to 2 millimeters per year. The sea rises 3 millimeters annually. Together, they conspire to drown this city by the end of the century. Every high tide brings a fresh surge of anxiety. Aqua alta, high water, once rare, now routine, not an inconvenience, but a warning. Venice is not just fighting to stay afloat, it's fighting to exist, to endure, to defy the inevitable. This is the battle for survival, and it's far from over. In the 20th century, the slow descent of Venice accelerated, not by nature, but by man. Factories began pumping vast quantities of fresh water from deep aquifer beneath the city. Venice, already fragile, began to sink faster, as if the ground itself was giving up. And as if that were not enough, the sea began to rise due to climate change. In November 2019, Venice was hit by its worst flood in over half a century. The water invaded the ancient crypt of St. Mark's Basilica, causing damage that can never be undone. Italy responded one of the most ambitious and controversial engineering projects in its history, MOSE, a name that echoes like a promise or a warning. 78 steel gates buried beneath the lagoon, invisible until summoned. Compressed air is pumped into hollow chambers. The gates pivot upward on colossal hinges, forming a barrier between Venice and the sea. For the first time in its history, Venice had a shield, a weapon against its oldest enemy. But the MOSE project is not without its shadows. Critics warn of ecological damage. The constant raising and lowering the gates could disrupt the delicate balance of the lagoon. The future of Venice now rests on these gates, steel sentinels holding back the tide. But are they salvation or a temporary fix? Have we barred Venice a few more decades, or have we delayed the inevitable? The battle continues and the clock is ticking. So, as you wander these winding streets, as you glide through these ancient canals, pause, listen. Every stone beneath your feet, every ripple in the water holds a story of courage, of audacity, of survival. Remember the settlers who came here with nothing but desperation and built a dream on mud and hope. Remember the masons, the divers, the engineers, those who fight every day to keep this miracle alive. This isn't just a beautiful city, it is a living monument to human resilience, a testament to what we can achieve when everything is against us. Appreciate every moment here because you're walking on a miracle, a city built on dreams, and a silent ongoing battle for its very existence. Every sunset over these waters is a reminder Venice is not eternal. It is living on borrowed time. But there is a hope. Venice is adapting, evolving, fighting back. Will it endure another 1,000 years or vanish beneath the waves? That is the mystery of the floating city. But one thing is certain, Venice will not go quietly. Now it's time to say goodbye. Until next time, keep exploring, keep wandering.